Peace and respect to all. Welcome to Demolished Doctrine, the beginning of the end of religions, and I do mean all of them. And our privilege today is to have MacTheHuman. Peace and respect to anyone who might watch this in the future. I really appreciate it. If I don't like to beg, in fact, I'm way too proud for begging. But they tell me I'm supposed to do this. Please like and subscribe to this video channel, because if you're watching, it's because you like the content. There's other people who might like this content. There are statistically other people who will like this content. They don't know it exists. And when you vote, when you comment, when you thumbs up, in fact, even when you thumbs down, if you participate in any way, that says to the algorithm, people like this. The more people like this, the more they recommend it, the more people see it. So if you think you're too particular of a brain and there's no one even similar to you who thinks that this might do something in their head that's interesting, then just don't vote on it at all. But if you think there might be, out of 8 billion folks, somebody kind of similar to you who might, need to hear this this kind of an idea just to open their mind, make them critically think about their own position, then do something. Do something. Do whatever you want. Do something. And if you don't want to watch every show, peace and respect to the big Z.
Hey, Steve.
Hello to you
Hello.
both. I am so sorry to be late. I had trouble logging in and it wouldn't recognize my headset and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
A wizard is always precisely on time.
Uh,
I'm sorry I started the show early.
no, you did not.
Oh
But
no, I did.
thank you. Oh,
I did
okay.
start the show early to your wizardry, which, I mean, that happens. It's okay.
All right.
Let me finish this real quick
Yes,
thought,
go for it.
and then I'll just throw it at you guys. It'll be all you. All right. So, if you don't want every alert, do the other people that would want every alert a favor. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. When you hit that button, you'll get a drop down list. I want all the alerts. I want some of the alerts, which is a lot of work. And if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Just hit none. Just hit none. Okay? I don't want any of the alerts. If I happen to be there, cool. Do that.
Mm.
All right, guys. I love you. It's your show. I'm here to answer to you. Go
Oh,
go for it.
oh my goodness.
Melee.
This is difficult. I didn't expect to be in this situation. What have you got, Mac? Over to you, Mac.
He's,
This is every week. What do you mean you weren't ready?
what did you think was going to happen?
Mm, mm. The I was wondering actually before the show. There are often passages in the Bible that might strike Western readers as being particularly beautiful. And I was just
Hmm.
wondering, here and there, I like this, I like that. I was just wondering if either of you had some favorites.
That's you,
Like
Mac.
favorites in terms of their beauty?
Yeah, the poetry of it all.
Oh,
Or maybe it could be something that's just very meaningful to you. I don't know.
sure. That's a nice question. It's a friendly question.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not sure. I think the first. Have you ever heard of an author called named Annie Dillard? She's a
Yes.
yeah, a Christian novelist, I guess, and
She wrote
essayist.
Bird by Bird, I think, which is a remarkable book. I really enjoyed it.
Hmm.
But I might be thinking of someone else, so I will double check.
Anyway, it was in one of her essays that I saw the verse or the actually the piece of a verse for the first time isolated that just said "eat this scroll," and it was quoted and put in the chapter and verse "eat this scroll," and I don't. I thought that was like kind of funny out of context, but also like really showed something joyous and visceral about the character of God,
Hmm.
and that that it would taste like honey on your tongue. This scroll. There's a very like it's a very physical kind of well, I guess it's a poetic image, and I find it striking and sort of irreverent uh, and beautiful for those reasons. But I think like poetically in terms of like meter and rhyme and like the way words sound, that's a very subjective thing what people like. But personally,
Sure.
I find most translations of the Bible into English to be kind of clunky in that respect. Like I, I struggle to read it because there's not a lot of even the poetry parts like the Song of
Mm.
Solomon and stuff. They feel sort of off. They're rhythmically off, and they just have the wrong vibe to them. So
Well,
I
for
don't really.
for me, there was. I know this is an old crusty one, but the "Yea, though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death,
Mm,
I shall fear no evil." I find it very beautiful. Doesn't mean I understand all of it, um, but that's one that always I find moving. And over to you, Richard.
Okay, so if I were able to speak and read Hebrew,
Mm.
and there's some who can, um, what they point out about Psalms, Song of Solomon, that stuff,
Mm.
the
Yeah.
the more poetic verse like stuff,
Hmm.
is the Hebrew tradition is not to rhyme the words.
Okay.
The Hebrew tradition is to rhyme the ideas it's expressing. You've heard this.
I have,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
conceptual echoing, and
yeah.
the prophets used a similar mechanism too. So it's indistinguishable between poets and the prophets because of that, the way that it's written. Of course,
Right.
as I'm
So
saying that, I'm mapping that over how you see the Bible, and it's very interesting.
it does.
Yeah.
People, and not you guys in particular, say, but even a conversation I just had last night said you found a way to make this justify for you, to make this work in reality. If you're, do you have any freaking clue how smart I'd have to be to do that?
Mm.
To make it work in all frames at all times, like assuming like that without some scholar telling me, I just kind of intrinsically knew that the
Yeah.
Hebrew people rhymed ideas behind the meaning of the verse instead of the verse itself. Give me a break. Give me a break.
I
I've been
think you
with
might
me
be that
this whole
smart.
time, and I've seen my test scores, man. I'm not saying they're low. They're not, but I'll tell you exactly what they are. I score 89% overall against the rest of the population.
Hmm.
Mm.
That's where I score.
And
Okay.
those the other 11% cheaters.
No, better at it than me. That's what the other 11% is.
All right. If you say so,
Of
Richard.
course, that's including like a 68 on the math scale, which really drops my score, and the rest of them are in the 90s.
Ah, okay. Is this like the SATs you're talking about?
Yeah, stuff like that.
The I've never taken the SATs. I'm Canadian, so it would come up if you're looking to get into a U.S. school,
Right.
but otherwise, no. And they don't even do the SATs so much anymore. They've switched to the ACTs,
Mm-hmm.
which when a test gets a bad name because reasons, they just essentially create a new one with. I used to sell study guides essentially
Oh.
for these things. Somebody went Bing. I think it was
Yeah,
Richard.
I am so sure I put this thing on airplane mode.
That's okay.
I apologize.
No, I thought it was kind of funny actually, because it's not a noise I would associate with you.
I thought he had an idea.
Actually, I did
Yeah,
not make the noise.
yeah, yeah. Well done, Mac.
Nor is this an episode of Bugs Bunny.
No,
Bing.
Ding.
but it could be. By the way, I put it into chat. You mentioned the author Annie Dillard,
Mhm.
and I confused her with the author Annie Lamott, who
Mm.
wrote Bird by Bird.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was making a false connection there.
Well, thanks for
Always
the
terribly
clarification.
honest, and that's appreciated.
Oh, well, okay. Well, just thought it was a decent thing to do, and they're both good authors. I just realized I haven't read Annie Dillard, but I've certainly heard of her.
So if
But
you
Annie Dillard's books, don't even bother.
oh, so if you, Richard, you were saying if you could read the Hebrew, if read and speak the original Hebrew.
Right. I'm sorry.
The answer to
I felt
Steve's
like I'd
question.
finished the thought.
I don't think so.
Okay, I guess I didn't. So let me just backtrack a little bit. I mean, I'll give you like the quintessential example. As time goes on, more research happens, more is found out about like dead languages and dead societies and stuff like that. So actually, we keep getting better at stuff that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
You'd think it would like fade over time. No. We keep getting
Right.
better at it and getting more and more information.
Mm.
True.
Discovery of the
shocked.
stele of Hammurabi, for instance.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't always have the stele of Hammurabi. It was lost for a while.
Yeah, and over the years, they found more than one. There are a whole bunch of them.
Oh, no
But
kidding.
that's the effort of generations of
Right.
scholars and archaeologists.
Right. So we when say like the King James was translated, right? They had to make I'm not saying they're wrong for doing it. They had to make some assumptions because we literally didn't know the translation of certain words. In fact, still today, what for all intents and purposes looks like the letter A, the Aleph, in the Hebrew language, we don't know what it means. Like,
I didn't know that.
Nobody knows what that means. So it's just kind of like skip over A, skip over Aleph. Just gonna skip it because
maybe it's a sign of the beginning of a sentence rather than so that you denote the beginning of a sentence with an aleph instead of how we use the period. That probably
it's hard to say because the sign of it looks like a consonant and they had developed during this approximate same time frame vowel points.
Yes.
Which indicate what vowel to use and where to use it within the set of consonants.
You think if these were God's chosen people, you think he would have given them a proper set of vowels?
Yeah. Because they should be English. That's what they should be.
Yes. Why not give them a decent language like that? Instead of having to clear your throat all the time to say these. Okay, Richard's losing it, I think. Okay,
No,
I should stop.
No, I know you.
Yes.
Whenever you start talking, I'll be quiet, and then I'm just going to make a mental note, and I'm just going to hang that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep looking at it, and I'm gonna give you. Okay, I'm slightly distracted, but I still want to get the joke. So I'm working real hard during those times to hang on to that thing, but pay enough attention to the joke to respect you because I think you're hilarious.
Thank you. I'm not worthy, but at any rate, what were we talking about when I got distracted?
Opinions will vary. I don't think you were distracted. I thought you were fine. Okay, so we literally didn't have the definitions to words to put them in the King James, right? But we've discovered the meaning of some of those words since.
Oh, that's great.
Right? So I started bugging a modern scholar. So I'd be reading in the context of already adopted, right? Assume it was right. tell me why that's wrong. This is part of an overview testing method. This is only part of it. It's not the whole thing. Assuming it was right, what would the translation of this untranslated word be? Well, it'd be him. It would mean him, for instance. So I get a hold of Dr. Josh, who had way too much patience with me. What a very nice man.
He's great.
And I would like in an email, I would include a picture where I had hand drawn the Hebrew word that didn't get translated, because it is still in the text. You can look it up, right? But they just said in a little note, untranslated, right?
Wow.
And it doesn't appear in the King James at all. So whenever I run into one of those, I go, okay, if the context is right, that's him. If the context is right, that's camel. If the context is right, that's such and such. Never missed one.
Isn't language a bitch? It's just like, yeah, we use the word camel and him for the same thing. Because that's because camel has human personality traits. Yeah.
And it's kind of like someone saying someone's an ass. That guy's an ox. That's the way they're using it.
I see. Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's good
It doesn't mean the animal's inconsequential.
What kind of person is a camel?
Oh, well, camels.
I've never met a camel.
To be a little. But it really is. The person is like a camel. It really is. That, like, they're a really good worker, but they're reluctant, right? But if you get them going, they'll go a long time. It's that dude or that woman. Okay. It's a camel. Yeah. And there really are people like that. And that really is how a camel is. Just not talking about the camel. It's talking about the person.
Okay.
So it's like hitting a big overview of a personality type. And you can count the different personality types. And by the way, this is true. That the way they're using the definitions of those animals, there are those 5 major personality types. It's not a joke. Like psychology, just Dr. Jordan B. Peterson says I was reluctant to accept there were 5 major personality types, but eventually, over the course of like a decade, I had to accept it. Well, there you go. That's what's in the Bible right there. It was always there.
Are there other animal personality types?
What's that?
You mentioned the ox and the ass.
Well, there's the zebra, but that's in the African text.
Yes. The Ethiopian church probably.
Yeah, it's the elegant, intelligent person. That's what that is. With style.
Oh, thank you. I'm delighted to hear that.
All right.
Excellent.
Just don't tell me to gee up.
I totally made that up.
Yes.
But zebras do look like that.
We do.
Yeah. And they tend to be part of the in crowd.
I never have been.
Like indistinguishable from the in crowd, literally. Fog one eye.
That's
it just becomes a 50-ton animal. That's what it becomes, all one thing. Okay, so I discovered there's online programs and dictionaries that have them too, and I quit bugging Dr. Josh. Okay. But Dr. Josh, although I'm not saying he's agreeing with my reading frame. No, I'm not saying that at all. The man's a true academic. Peace and respect, Commander 401. He's a true academic, right? He stands on an outside view of it and tries to look at it objectively and honestly. So the most he was ever going to say is, that's a plausible reading frame considering the definitions.
Right.
Which he did say more than once, okay? But my point is, I don't know Hebrew. If my reading frame was bad, the context would give me bad understanding of words that were not defined in Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, in Blue Letter Bible, in Gesenius. There were no definitions there. If I'm wrong about how to read it overall, I wouldn't be able to guess the word correct 100% of the time. and it's not confirmation bias. I kept a notepad to write down every time I was wrong. It's just an empty notepad. Okay. So I'm not guessing at all, and it's not confirmation bias at all. The reading frameworks. So you can't be smart enough to guess untranslated words. That's not a be smart enough thing.
I was curious about your notion of 5 personality groups mentioned in the Bible. I was just thinking, what a great book that would make, explaining the concept to people.
Oh, dude, I want about $10 million to make a movie. Just that would be just do David and Goliath. I'd like about. I'm going to overload you now.
Go for it.
I'm going to give you some of what I got. I need about 100 computer programmers and operators to plug in the whole Bible into Matthew 1:1, because Matthew 1:1 is a punch key code, a punch card code, using the original 64 by 35 that IBM used.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a decode device. And if you plug in words and phrases from the Bible, that will act as a translation and will automatically translate. I did like one line of it. It totally worked.
It's the genealogy.
What's that?
That's the genealogy you're talking about.
Yeah, except it's not.
Right. I mean, it's the part that's known as the genealogy.
Right.
Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's evidently a genealogy. And it's worse than that, because the names make a story, and the names have to be those names in a certain order. Once you start the story, you can never change it. The rest of it will become garbage. Right. But it works as a story, and it's an IBM punch key code. And it's consistent within itself on a shallow this is so freaking brilliant.
In what way is it a punch key code? Like, how would you change it to, like, using the Hebrew characters?
No, you don't change it.
Sorry.
You have to go back to what it was. In fact, you have to untranslate it. Yeah. You go back to the original Hebrew letters, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And that will do the whole alphabet and all the punctuation, right? And then when you add in, say, let's say you add in of the dead, right? That's gonna be certain positions which are aligned to other certain positions, right? And that's gonna give you a result. So I did one thing like that. It should have came out garbage. It didn't. It was coherent. But I'm not gonna start doing all of it. You need a computer to do it. It's just so darned time consuming.
Yes, I'm sure it would be. Holy crap.
So I had a friend of mine who's a computer program write the program that does that, and I still have that. And I need about 100 operators to use that program and line by line enter in the whole Bible.
Couldn't you get text, like just download text of the Bible? It should be on. You see what I mean? You just get.
Get the data.
Heavy equipment operator.
Oh, okay. So you need the human to.
Give me a chainsaw. I will impress you. Okay. I don't know what to do with all this stuff. In the book, where is the prophet Joshua, right? There are, and what's the name of that book that nobody can decode? I think I can decode it. Um,
The
what
Voynich
you
manuscript.
the Van Noych? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I can
Yeah.
decode it. Here's why I think that. It's not about the ink that's there. That's not it. That's the wrong way to
Oh.
think. It's so intuitive to go, I have to translate the ink. No, you translate the creation of space between the ink. That's
Mm.
the letters.
Ah, okay.
So you just relax your eyes. So this is almost like that 3D image thing, the false 3D image art. It's kind of like that. And if you relax your eyes and you look at it without looking directly at it, it's going to form letters
Yeah.
in between the ink.
Mm.
The ink is the negative. It's not the positive.
There's a weird halo effect when you look at text and then shift your eyes to white paper. Do you
Yes, there
think
is.
something would be going on there with the
Well, that's an
Voynich?
extra step you kind of don't need, but you could do
Okay.
it that way. You could do it that way, and it might be more intuitive if you did it that way. But that would be really time consuming. You have a bright light, and then you need a dark, and bright light and a dark, and you have to keep going
Yes.
back and forth and piece it together. Whereas if you just relaxed your eyes and looked at the spaces in between, you'd see what's being expressed. Because what they put on ink is the opposite of that. They put the negative on the paper.
Mm. I guess
And
you could have a code.
no. I said I'm going to overload you. You have to be quiet
Okay,
now.
go ahead.
Okay, and the reason that I think that's true is because one of them occur in the book of Joshua, where there is I'm going to call it a pegacorn. Now, not only is it coherent within itself, and it's a translation into English from the Hebrew, from the Torah. So you'd have to know the Hebrew language, right? And make that coherent, right? And then you'd have to know what the English language is going to be, it not being invented, right? You have to know exactly what it's going to be, it not being invented. And then when it gets translated, sometimes at a certain typeset and at a certain paragraph or sentence length before it defers back, because it's columnized into two columns in the King James. There is in the negative behind the ink, there is the most gothic, freaking gorgeous, perfectly to scale, with depth, with expression in its face that shows intelligence and majesty and humility. You can see it in the horse's face. It's that defined. And it's all of one column and the beginning of the next column. And I would take a piece of paper, because I went ahead and did it in pencil in my Bible. And then I'd take a piece of paper, just any old sheet of paper, because it would fit on a normal 8x11 sheet, because how big my Bible was. It was only like, I want you to be able to see that. It's only like about as big as my head, one page, right? I could take a sheet of paper and trace it. And like I was always in some public place because I was homeless. I would like squat at a McDonald's and buy 1 cup of coffee with the change that I found in their drive-thru, and sit there and study the Bible all day, milking a cold cup of coffee, you know, so I could be indoors with light. Because sometimes I'd do this I was obsessed. It was insane how obsessed I was. I would do it to the point of exhaustion and then just go somewhere and fall out, you know, and I do that just every day without end. And that was my whole life, just very minimalistic sustenance and Bible. That's it. Didn't care about nothing else. I would trace that, and every time there was a kid around, I'd give them this coloring, line drawing. And I'm telling you, every single time I did that, the parents' jaw, their mouth would just go, like, holy crap, that's a good drawing. And it's pencil, and it's on this piece of paper. You're like, one mom goes, you want my kid to have this? I say, sure, yeah, let him scribble on it.
And this was derived from I missed how you found this picture. It was
I
in
was
the King
exhausted.
James. Yeah.
I was exhausted, and my mind started wandering because I was exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
My mind started wandering. My eyes lost focus, and I saw this coil on the page.
Hmm.
The coil was only about that long, right? And it was a reducing coil, like a spring that came to a point.
Like
And I
in the
went,
formatting of the letters, you saw this
yes, in between the letters.
in between the letters, sure, in the negative space. Like,
In the
okay, I
negative
gotcha.
space
Okay,
between the letters,
okay.
it was there was this coil.
Hmm.
It was like an O, then on the next line an I, and then the next line an L, and then the next line I don't remember what it was. Anyway,
Hmm.
it like made this coil, and I went, "What the heck is that?" And I took a piece of pencil and I just traced it
Hmm.
there, and I
Mm-hmm.
went, that's like a narwhal horn.
Oh, sure.
It's a narwhal horn, but a fat one. It's
Mm.
too short and it's too fat. It's too thick,
Hmm.
and it's not as subtle. It's like really pronounced. And then I looked, and there's an eye socket, and I drew the eye,
Hmm.
and there's a chin over here.
I see.
And
Gotcha.
dude, I mean, I don't have the distance from camera to do it for you, but it's a Pegasus, and he's like this, and he's cornering, and
Oh,
he's got one front hoof up and one down, and he's soaring. He's just like that,
yeah.
and his head is down. He's looking down, not because he's ashamed. He looks like if I could. There's going to be a poor imitation of the expression. You have to kind of know me for this to make sense, but I'm going to do it the best I can. I'm not a good actor, but he looks like this.
Hmm.
He's confident, he's strong, he's not proud of it, he's proud to use it.
Determined. Cool. I'd like to see
Dude,
that.
I got chills right now. I could cry. um
That's cool.
I mean, it is gorgeous, and the only thing that's missing is the shading, and the shading is real obvious where it should be.
Hmm.
And it's like Michelangelo Gothic art. It's like that. It's like Michelangelo's David of a pegacorn.
Hmm.
It's got wings, and it's got a horn, and it's a horse.
Mm.
And no, it's not a rhinoceros. Y'all stop saying that. When it says unicorn, it means a freaking unicorn. It's not a rhino. Oh my gosh, I get so frustrated. Like
Yes,
people,
I've
like
heard
you,
that a lot. People saying that the unicorn is they're really talking about a rhinoceros.
that's bullcrap. Look, you're a zebra. You know this. When you guys have babies, as soon as the baby can find its balance, it is gonna dance. That's what they do. Goat, sheep, horses, cattle, they dance. That's what they do. Just like on Bambi, deer, they really do that. No kidding, they really. You try to get a baby rhino to dance.
Mm.
I freaking dare
no
you.
thanks.
The text strictly says skipped like a unicorn.
Also, can someone explain to me why some unicorns have two horns? If rhinos have
Oh,
two
that's
horns,
true. Yeah, they do.
so it's
Yeah,
not the right word.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
Oh,
there's
well.
no such. Nobody does unless you're really bored and trying to be inventive because you're a bored artist.
Mm,
You're not going to make a two-horned unicorn. It's self-defeating.
no.
You don't even make 50% of them two-horned. No. Gee
Oh
whiz.
Lord.
Okay. I get upset when people start ignoring parts of it in order to justify and make something believable in reality. Hey, let's face it. We don't know, we do not know what rocks are on the other side of the moon. Okay? Because first of all, we don't care. That wasn't the part we wanted to survey. Okay? And we know rocks generally occur, so we just assume rocks. Well, kick rocks, because it doesn't matter. All right. Now, just because you don't observe a thing doesn't mean it's not there. But when you apply what you can see to things you can't see in a way that you can't justify, you're being illogical. So don't tell me there are no unicorns. That's irresponsible. Qualify your statement. There are no observable unicorns on this planet. Well, now I'll agree with you. But we know animals can have horns. We know the horns can be twisted and straight. We know there are horses. We know that horses have genetics. We know that genetics can grow horns. Come on, guys. There's nothing impossible about a unicorn. We just don't have any.
Lordy.
The unicorns are in Scotland.
Yes. It's.
I like Wild Eden. There's a magical element to Wild Eden. There is, and it is so romantic. It is. I love the romance of it. I love the romance of a lot of the Scottish expression and woodland elves and fairies and all that. Gosh, sure. I just want to fall in love with the whole idea. It's beautiful.
I've been in Edinburgh during the festival they have. It's wonderful.
Which festival?
It's a sort of arts festival. Yeah, there are all these plays everywhere you turn, and it'll be some magical thing that.
Oh, just tell me they have bards. Just tell me they have bards. You'll win my heart.
People walking around singing?
Yeah.
They probably do. They also have a sort of an off-Broadway thing where if no major company picked up your play, you can just sort of go there and do it. This is also good.
So cool. It's kind of what are those American movies that are not Hollywood? They're free.
Like indie movies.
It's called something else.
Art house.
Well, it's obviously independent movies, yeah. But there's a whole festival. There's a name. Never mind. It's off topic anyway. Anyway, super interesting stuff. Sundance Festival.
Oh, the Sundance.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, go. Wow. Yeah, dude, if you think if you're an American who thinks that Hollywood is good, go see the free form stuff that like really brilliant people are doing. Like it'll blow you away. Like there's movies that are so much better than Hollywood. It's Netflix. Get out of here. It's Jerry Springer. The Netflix is Jerry Springer of movies. It's horrible. Go watch Sundance, man.
They have their own cable channel, Sundance.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, maybe they changed the name, but it was the Sundance channel.
I didn't know that existed.
I'll check. I'll do the Google thing.
Right on. Okay, so where were we? All right, so my claim is with my education and experience level, and don't give me excuses like I have the world's best subconscious. Don't even try to feed me that crap. Okay? Look, there's no way I accidentally ran across Hebrew words that weren't translated until recently while I was young and I forgot I ran across it. Okay, that did not happen. Stop kidding yourself. I refuse to kid myself. All right. Yeah, sure. Didn't have the internet. Had to borrow a Bible. This old Baptist lady finally gave me one after I borrowed it too many times. I'm reading it. There's this translation in my head. I keep applying it. It keeps working. It translated untranslated words. They're not in the text. And I already assumed they'd be there even before I had a computer and Blue Letter Bible. I already knew that was implied there. Like the physical space in the King James doesn't exist. It's not there. And my brain would stick it in anyway.
What do we do with that, Steve?
I can do. I just stand back in awe. I don't often understand what's going on because I'm a zebra, but I do appreciate it. It's sort of like listening to one of those lectures about quantum physics from the Perimeter Institute. You're not going to appreciate it on the level of a scholar or Richard or somebody else, but you can sure as hell listen. That's not bad.
The assertion is that, first of all, that Richard is not a hyper genius that like out of the comic book, which, I think is debatable. I think we could probably talk about whether that's true or not, right?
Exactly. Light bulb head, right?
Yeah. But regardless of that, he got.
It's actually 8 1/4. It's kind of small. I wear an 8 1/4 hat. I'm not kidding you.
Okay. Is that big or small for a hat? I don't know.
It's kind of small.
Okay.
For a male, it's kind of small.
So he's not that, but he still somehow gained access to novel information that was accurate and turned out to be accurate. It wasn't like something he could have had access to previously. So that, to me, that is a humongous claim like that. And it's unfortunately not testable, and we just have to go with it and say, okay, if that's true, then what are the implications? The implications are vast. I mean, they're at minimum that information can be obtained in ways that we don't understand, in ways that don't have to do with studying and reading and being introduced to ideas by other people who have had the ideas previously. Of course, ideas, the topic of ideas and where they come from is kind of a cool, spooky realm to talk about anyway. And, there's been much hay made in philosophical texts about inspiration, the idea of inspiration, for instance, or which, if you want to pick apart that word, I know it means, filled with spirit or filled with breath.
Let's do it real quick. Filled with someone else's breath.
Inspiration.
Exactly.
That's what it means, I think.
You breathed in their breath. That's what you did. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's there actually is a kind of a common understanding that ideas originally don't come from within, but from somewhere else, Exactly. Yeah. Stripping for Jesus. Everything for Jesus. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I tell you, there's real stuff that's worse than stripping is kind of cute compared to some of the stuff I've seen.
Stripping's fun.
Can I on such a serious topic, can I divert us for a little bit?
Not yet. How about not
to hear
yet?
what you say about this, Steve.
Yeah.
And like, what's the skeptical response to that? Like,
it's real simple, actually. It's shockingly simple. There's only 3 kinds of information. There's raw data, right? Then there's Shannon complexity, right? Which talks about how complex the data is, right? Like, is there a pattern in the data?
I see.
What is that? What is that? How complex is the pattern? And what can we glean from just the complexity of the patterns within the data set?
So complexity.
That's Shannon complexity. What's that?
Complexity and significance, then.
Yeah. And then there's meaning.
Right. Okay.
So data has nothing to do with meaning, and Shannon complexity has nothing to do with meaning.
Right.
And communication has everything to do with meaning. Okay. So when I say there's three different kinds of information, right? Those are the three kinds. But the kind that has intrinsic meaning and context and things like that, those kinds of nuances, that's communication, right? And it is always, there is zero, absolutely zero example. You won't be able to think of one. And I don't say that to defeat you and poison the well. I say that to challenge you. Go ahead and think of one where information that has an intrinsic meaning comes from a non-conscious being, something that's not conscious, creating information with intrinsic meaning that can be discovered. No such thing ever happened. It literally can't happen in physics.
Say it again. Information cannot be gleaned from a non
the source
conscious.
Every information, every piece of information that has intrinsic internal meaning already there, right, came from a consciousness. It was produced by a conscious entity. Okay. I'll give a super it's just information theory, and anyone can look. I didn't write this stuff. In fact, I went and said I'm nuts. I've got to be crazy because it's way out of my range. It's way complicated. It explains way too much, and it's coherent within itself, and it has intrinsic meaning that you have to glean from it, and you don't have a choice about the meaning. That's a sign of an intelligence, right? I've lost my ever-living mind. I'm just doing this. It's just that I'm nuts, right? Because that should be your first suspicion. It was my first suspicion.
Right.
And that's why I had to go and learn about everything that I'm talking about right now. Is because when I tried to prove myself crazy, it proved the whole thing sound, and I was shocked. I was blown away, because it should have been wrong. Because if it's me, it should be wrong, and that's all there is to it.
Right.
I'll give a super simple example. If you're by a set of speakers, you are. And it's playing something, not just static, but it's playing like a song, right? It's playing a song. Your brain is receiving information. So your brain's creating information. No. Your brain is your brain is translating electrical signals. Oh, the electrical signals, that's the information. No. That's coming from your eardrum. Oh, the eardrum's creating it. No.
Right.
That's being impacted by airwaves. Oh, the airwaves are the information. No. Oh, well, the speaker's creating those airwaves. It's vibrating because of a magnet turning off and on at certain strengths. That's the information. No. Well, the electrical signal's coming into it. No. The radio that's creating the amplification of the RF signal in the air is the radio station is the equipment at the station, the DJ, the CD player, the CD, the artist created the information. No exceptions ever. It always goes back to an intellect. You would never, even if you'd never seen one, find a book with a language you cannot. Van Noyt's manuscript. Everyone knows that a human being, a conscious entity, took a pen, put ink on it, put it to paper. Every single letter, every drawing, the whole thing. Doesn't even matter what the thing is.
So you're saying that these ideas have to have originated in a consciousness, another consciousness.
Another conscious, because it's just not my experience.
Right.
In fact, it's so not my experience. At the time, this had been the last thing I wanted to know.
Right.
It's like saying, if you say to a hardcore anti-theist, which I was, ask anybody.
Right.
You say a hardcore anti-theist, hey, why don't you go prove the Bible's true? They're like, screw off, you're insane. First of all, it's not true.
Right.
It's myths to
Right.
justify history that was unjustifiable any other way, so that the people could feel like they're okay in reality. It's a sign that that people are weak. I know people are weak. I'm not one of those weak people. Dude, I sounded like Matt Dillahunty, 30 years of it. Okay? Longer than Matt Dillahunty has been Matt Dillahunty. I was longer than that. Okay?
Okay.
And I never heard of him, because I don't need people to like confirm me. I'm my own man. I was saying all the atheist quotes before I heard anybody else say them. I already looked at what my mom thought was true in Catholicism, what my dad threw away out of Baptists, and went, gee. And my eldest sister has been like religious her whole life. And I said, oh, poor sweet thing. I made fun of her. And I've told her, look, I made fun of you behind your back for like 3 decades.
Aww.
That you're weak, that you need a crutch, that you, I mean, seriously, dude, I was an anti-theist. And people say, oh, you needed the Bible to be right, so you found a way to justify it. Screw off. You don't know me. I was with me the whole time.
I hadn't even considered that as a motivation.
Right.
But even if that was, you would have had to figure it out. You would have had
You know what I'd have to know? I'll tell you, because I went and looked what I'd have to know to do this.
Yeah.
I'd have to be a natural Hebrew speaker about 1,000 years ago. Right? I need to be that. Right?
Sure.
I need to
That's
live.
Yeah.
I need to live in that culture, so I get all the cultural references. Right? I need to know astronomy. Right? Because this involves like extraterrestrial objects and physics. Right? I need to be a theoretical physicist. And I need to be able to already have understood what our best physicists are in the middle of confirming. Go on with your bad self. You go on.
Right.
Yeah, you're that bad, they ought to put you in charge of the world. Well, why ain't I living in the lap of luxury, being paid to be in a think tank? I'll tell you why. Because I'm not that bright. All right? I'm not think tank material. I met one guy who is. He was actually in a think tank at Berkeley. But fascinating guy. I give you his name, but he's really, really timid, which is funny because he's crazy brilliant.
Hey, PJ.
Peace and respect, PJ. So look, guys. I know I don't have that background. I know that background wasn't even available to me. I'm 54 years old. Our probes had not gotten to Jupiter when I was in school. Go look it up. This information was not available. We didn't have it. But because of the Bible, I could have told you that the impactor to Temple 1 is going to get vaporized. It's not going to hit. And you go and watch the film footage, it got vaporized, dude. These things carry electrical charges. They're not completely dormant going through our solar system. In fact, there's different charges at different distances to the sun. And there's great differentials there. I mean, immense differentials. And it'll just fry some stuff. You want to know why your probe doesn't get to the center of Jupiter? Why you can't build something that'll go through ammonia And methane, you designed it to go through ammonia and methane, and it still got destroyed. You want to know why? Because an electric bolt fried that puppy. It got eaten.
What is
That's
this?
why it turned off.
What's the name of that probe?
I don't know.
I thought you mentioned it. I've never.
I probably have heard the name of that probe somewhere and may have repeated it at one point.
Yeah, sorry to get you off track. That's fascinating.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we could tell because we have light spectrum analysis. You know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So the light that reflects off of a material,
Mm-hmm.
it creates a certain signature. That signature means that element, that's that gas, whatever. That's what it means. So we can tell from the light bounces what the light is. First of all, I have to know what that is. Bouncing off those gases, what the gases are. So we knew when we created the probe what the gases were. We had temperature readings. We had gravitational readings. We knew what the gases were. And it only went in so far and it died. And they all go, mystery. We don't know why it failed. Holy crap, man. It's so obvious in your face. Look at like Io, where there's no atmosphere. You can see electrical tornadoes.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, like lightning going like a tornado. Yeah, these huge blue funnels of pure energy just go, like looking for something to strike, man. It's violent. It's super violent.
Can produce lightning even on
What's that?
Earth. Volcanoes can produce lightning even on Earth.
Yeah,
Sure.
and we know that wet things don't create static, but we say that water particles together in cold and warm air creating lightning. Get the hell out of here with that crap.
Sorry.
It's wet, right? That water stuff's wet. It's a lubricant. You want to say a lubricant's creating dry friction and static electricity. Will you please grow up? It doesn't do that. And we see electric, what they call sprites, being induced from the energy from outer space through the stratosphere into the clouds. It's like upside down lightning shooting out of space into the clouds. Want to know what's charging up a cloud? It's a battery, bro. It's not self-charging. It's free range energy from stars. And the clouds are collecting it. And eventually it jumps. There's so much.
I'm overwhelmed now.
There's so much juice out there. There's so much juice. Oh, and lightning goes the other way too.
What do you mean?
And you know what that means?
No.
It means the earth. Hold on, man. I'm telling you what the Bible reads. It means the earth is a conductor and it's acting as a capacitor because it's fully charged. Sometimes the lightning goes down. Sometimes it goes up. That means the place is charged. We're at full throttle right now, man. I tell you what, all you got to do is have something with a negative energy comparative right now, and lightning is gonna strike it. You know what spaceships have compared to this Earth? A different energy level. And there were thunders and lightnings under the throne of God. It's not him trying to impress you, it's physics. He shows up, lightning's going to go like, striking it, recharging heaven's batteries, bro.
Cool.
This is a giant capacitor. And think about any particular lightning strike and how much voltage is necessary to arc that far and have that kind of destroying power. Blow up a 2-foot oak tree and just blow it the hell up, shred it. That's what kind of power, that's what kind of voltage we're talking about. You know, wood's a non-conductor. Holy crap. The wood's an insulator, man.
That's true.
When lightning is it's pushing physics to the limit, and the path is only slightly better because a little bit of moisture in the wood, and it just blows the tree to shreds, burns it, instant burning. You know what kind of heat that takes? How much plasma was created? I mean, have you noticed a thunderclap?
They say
Dude,
it's
there's
like the surface of the sun.
right. It's absolutely insane, and it happens. Peace and respect, nation. It happens on this planet. Did I already say that once? It happens on this planet like all the time in both directions, up and down, right? And that is a part of the total field, a very, very, very tiny, tiny, tiny part of the total field of the Earth. And this huge capacitor all over, it's just like crackling and firing. And every time you get a disturbance in the field, it's going to crackle and fire right there over, I don't know, twisters, hurricanes, volcanoes, all these kinds of disturbances. It's going to have those things. Dude, it's not friction. It's energy, and it's stabilizing itself because energy just wants to do that. It wants to, like it has a personality. I don't know what else to say.
Right.
It tends to do that. It tends to want to stabilize, from greater to lesser concentration. And it's always just doing that little tiny sine wave, maintaining that. It's a capacitor. All right. So when heaven shows up, there's going to be so much lightning strike. It's going to be everywhere. You'll notice. And why? Because it's got a differential. It's got an energetic differential there. Of course, lightning's going to jump. Like it wants to jump all the time. It's ready right now. Oh, that ain't an eighth of this. I'm not scratching a surface here.
Wow.
I just keep going like this. I mean, mind-boggling epiphany after. I'll tell you what happened to me, and this is really hard to believe, but I mean, you call me a liar if you want. I know I'm telling the truth.
I'm not going to call you a
For
liar.
10 days in a row. I know you won't, but anyone's welcome to, and they're welcome to believe it. I mean, future events are proved when they become past events. I'm absolutely fine with that. It's just a fact of reality.
Right.
For 10 continuous days, all my waking hours, which were about average waking hours, right? Something about 16, 18 hours. It was literal. I'm not playing with you. It was literally a mind-blowing epiphany about every 3 minutes. Wow. For 10 days. Now, I've shared some of the ones that I think are like more impactful. That you can't draw a triangle. I promise you, you can't draw an isosceles triangle in a text about your actual experience of the last time you went camping or ate out with your family, right? And work into the shadow behind the letters, the negative, work a triangle in there and make that whole thing make sense and don't change the spacing. I dare you to draw something as simple as a triangle. Dude, there's a unicorn. And I mean a gorgeous unicorn. In one certain letter and page size, one print size of the King James Bible. And there's probably stuff like that all over the place. The level of genius that's in this, I just stand back with my mouth. Oh, I do a Job. You got me, man. You got me, because I know I'm not this smart. I know that. But I'm smart enough to see it, and I'm open enough to see it when somebody shows it to me. And all I can do is stand back with my hands. Whoa, slow down, slow down,
Right.
Slow down, because I'm having trouble keeping up here. It's a lot. Oh, by the way, that poor old lady that let me use her Bible.
Yeah.
When I'm bad, I feel bad for her because she went through some crap when I went through that. I mean, I was going through a lot and I couldn't stop myself from expressing it, right? But I was telling her all these epiphanies as they happened.
Oh man.
There's like a 65-year-old lady, and I'm coming to her every 3 minutes going, oh, hey, by the way.
By the way.
Oh, hey, yeah, hey, by the way, it totally makes sense there would be thunder and lightning strikes under the throne of God. Here's why, blah, 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 blah. Okay, all right, see you in 3 minutes.
How's she doing now?
I try to leave her with what peace she has. I hope, for her own sake, she went, oh, that poor Richard, he was such a nice guy, and my daughter seemed to really like. I was dating her daughter. My daughter seemed to like him, but that asshole, he broke her heart because he lost his mind. I don't really blame him for losing his mind, but he's crazy. I hope that's what she thinks. I don't want to correct that. Because if she had to like try to process all that stuff that I'd said to her, this old Baptist lady, okay, so homeless shelter, lunch every day because, well, I need food. I wanted to study the Bible. I didn't want to have a job. So homeless shelter. And it was all Baptists in that area. This really sweet, probably 60, 65, tiny little extra wide hips, just typical white woman. Not a caring at all, not assumptive, attentive and caring and compassionate and sweet, really, really meant it. Baptist, her whole born Baptist, if she said, oh, bless your heart, she meant, oh, I want God to bless your heart. She meant it. She's so sweet. I made a mistake, man. And it wasn't fair. I was really new. Okay. That's my excuse. I didn't know any better. I learned better later. And she's one of the reasons that I don't do this. All right. So I hold back a lot of the time. Because this poor, sweet little old lady, not that old, but pretty darn old, I struck up a conversation with her about the Bible, right? And she's into Bible, so she's all about it. She's, oh, yeah, let's talk about the Bible. Let's talk about God, right? And so I presented to her, by the way, this is, after this started, this is less than a month later. Like, this is me at 1 month. Okay. This then me, my experience at 1 month. I mean, there's like no experience, right? So I said, I gave to her the Sabbath syllogism, right? That we're part of God's creation. She totally agreed. You have to. That we get benefits later. We get perfection later. We're not perfected. If we're not perfected, we're still in process to be perfected, right? God's the one that's perfect us. God's not resting from his creation. We're part of it. We're still being developed. God rests the Sabbath. God can't have rested a Sabbath of us yet. The Bible claims that God rested the Sabbath. God has another earth. And I'm not kidding you. She, yeah, froze and started going like this.
Oh, wow.
Dude, it hurt her.
Circuited her. Yeah.
It hurt her bad.
Yeah.
And all I could do was sit there and watch. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't, because I'd be a liar. I'd be dishonest. So I was kidding. Be okay. Dude, I thought she might die.
Yeah.
I thought she was like having a brain hemorrhage or something. I don't know. She just started twitching. She froze like a robot and went into a skip. It was freaky. It scared me. Like, really. So, about 3 minutes later, it stopped. And then she went back to frozen for about 10 or 15 seconds. Then she went like that. She like kind of shook her head just a little bit. And she goes, I'm sorry, I lost track of what we were saying. Can you talk to me? What were we talking about? I said, I don't know. I can't remember.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. We were probably just going on about something. Don't worry about it. I went back the next day. I watched her the whole time I was eating. She was okay.
Wow.
Wow.
Nisha said she's seen the freeze before.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nisha has prayed.
Mm-hmm.
Nisha has prayed. She says some stuff she can't get from her. She has to get from prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's some deep stuff. And people make fun of her. And people poke at her. People call her names. I feel your pain. But me and Nisha, we got a little connection here. I know she can't be lying. She knows I can't be lying. Right? And some of the stuff you'll say, Math Pig calls it the Richard face. Like sometimes, I mean, I hold myself back a lot. Like you don't know how much I'm holding myself back all the time. Today, I'm holding myself back today. What I could say, right? Because I got dumped on, and it really did almost drive me nuts, man. Like it was right there, right? If I were just a little less stable or whatever, I'd have been Looney Tunes from all this, right? So I hold myself back. Math Pig calls it the Richard face, where I'll say something that people just go, and they just freeze. They don't know what to do or say with it. And I'll tell you why that is. It's not because I'm brilliant. It's because it's so evidently true, and they never had that thought. Now they've got to calculate a brand new obvious thing. Yeah, deal with that in the middle of a live show.
It's novel information. It has to be processed. It has to be integrated into your worldview. It has to, or upset your worldview.
Right.
That's what happens when you get new information. You've got to do something with it. It's a process.
And dude, you don't want me to be what I did to my ex-girlfriend's mom and just keep hitting you with it.
Right. You
don't want it. I didn't want it. I survived it. But I didn't want it, and it was a lot. And I can do that to you. I can purposefully do that to you. I don't want to. I ain't going to. It ain't fair.
I appreciate that then.
Yeah. So that's exactly why I don't want to lead these conversations. Mm-hmm. You don't want me to lead this conversation. And everybody says to me all the time, you're too abbreviated. You're too speaking in your own head. You're not explaining it deeply enough. You're not going into enough detail. Dude, that's because like if this is 1,000 things, you only ever let me talk about 5 of them. And I'm losing my patience.
Sure.
And the only way I know to control that is to be not the one in charge. So I let you guys decide. You choose the topic. You lead the conversation. I'm just going to answer to you. I'm absolutely okay with it. It's a gigantic privilege, okay? But I can't tell you everything I got. Like it'd be verging on, it definitely inconsiderate of the other person. By the way, I'm not bragging on my intelligence. nor am I diminishing yours. I'm trying to tell you this is so much. So much.
Tiny bites.
Mm.
All right, fellas, I think I got to wrap it up.
Yep.
And I have to fall asleep.
Yeah,
But
I hear your breath getting
thank
deeper.
you so much for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the extra effort, Big Zebra. I know this is extra challenging for you.
Totally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, I do what I can, and then I fall asleep. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Peace and respect, Richard.
Peace and respect, Mac.
Thanks for the time today. And
thank you,
as
brother.
always, we'll see you next week. And I'll
All
probably
right.
see you around in between too. Shout out to everybody in the chat, and you know, God bless y'all. Thanks so much.
All right. Right. All right, guys. So here's a little bit of reality check against everything that I just said. There is the definite possibility I'm absolutely mad. That's okay. People go mad. And if I'm crazy, I apologize to you now. Okay. If I'm not crazy, this stuff will happen. Right. That's the difference. I unironically, unjokingly say the difference between the biblical prophets and someone suffering from multiple personality disorder and delusions is whether or not the stuff they say is accurate. That's what defines that. So it's safer to just assume that they lost their mind. Okay, that's safer. That doesn't mean forget what the what is it called, multiple personality disorder. What that person says, it doesn't mean you should forget what they says. Means you should take it with a grain of salt. So take it with a grain of salt from me. All right. I'm not diagnosed as having that issue. There doesn't seem to be that issue popping up in other parts of my life, but take it with a grain of salt. Just put it on a back burner. Don't worry about it. It's the introduction of an idea, and just the introduction of the idea. And if you put it on a back burner and just let it sit there, don't worry over it. It's nothing that you don't need to change your life in any way. Your life is just perfect the way it is. But just let it sit back there. If it happens, then you got the right ideas to translate it with. It'll make things easier for you. That's my intent, is that if this does make it easier for you, I'm happy to make your life a little bit easier in your future. That'd be amazing. Yeah, Nisha, I know you understand. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I am naturally, what do they call it? Semi-active or some expression that means something like that in psychology. I'm totally a hyper person. I've always been a hyper person. I was a hyper kid. That's just what I naturally am. So, yeah, manic. I just never go into the depressive state. I just like this all the time. Try to keep it under control. I realize it's a real thing. It's something that's about me. It's not your fault. And when I talk to people, I try to take into consideration that I have this issue. Try to meter it back, plus about another 15%, because I'm metering it back, which means I don't have a good measurement, which means I should add a little bit to how bad it is, because to me it seems perfectly agreeable. By the way, I don't avoid the depression. It's just not part of what I am. Depression has to be forced onto me. There have been people who forced depression onto me, and it was depressing as long as I was like allowing that influence in my life. But as soon as I just let go of it, I went right back to just manic all the time. So I'm just a hyperactive person. And if you know Beck's hyperactive too. Beck shows a lot of self-control to have like quote unquote normal conversations. My whole family, boy, you don't want to come to one of my family reunions. It's a mile a minute. There's never a break. Everybody's completely unforgiving. You say one missed word, use the wrong word, use a word out of context, they will make jokes about you for a decade or longer, depending on how bad it is. But I promise you, it's going to be in that topic's going to come up for the next 3 family reunions. Yep. We are harsh, unforgiving, like way too fast, right off the cuff. Boom, 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 boom. Me and my one of my nephews, who is just brilliant. We're all just kind of shooting the breeze at a family reunion, and things are rattling on and going on and pretty quick. And he said something, and it struck me that it rhymed with this other word, right? So it only rhymed with the other word, right? So he'd said a thing, right? And then I said, oh, that's one of those, and I gave a definition to the other word, right? And he replied, I mean, without a pause. There wasn't 3 seconds there. Without a pause, he goes, no, no, no. And then he gave a definition to a word that rhymed with that word. Right? Like, this was an instantly invented game. And we continued to play that game for years. Someone uses a word, you give a definition for a rhyming word. I'll just tell you the game. Someone uses a word, you give a definition for a rhyming word. They have to understand what the rhyming word is, correct you, which there was nothing wrong with your sentence in the first place. Correct you with the rhyming word. You meant to say this, right? Give a definition to a different rhyming word, right? And then you have to correct them using the rhyming word, the last rhyming word, and come up with a definition. Say, no, that's this. You meant to say this, and give a definition to another rhyming word, and the first one to run out loses. Fun game. Hard. But he just lit right into it. First suggestion of it. Didn't even pause. And that's how my folks are. They're all manic like that. Hypomanic. Yeah, maybe hypomanic. Met this other kid like me one time. Of course, this is in a kind of backward part of the country, West Virginia. And of course, I'm talking like, 40 years ago. There was this other kid like me, and I had more discipline than he did. I would hold it back more and not say it. I'd think in my head, but just not say it. He didn't have that. He'd just go ahead and say it. They took him for electroshock therapy. He and I were like twins. We hit it off great. We're both I don't know if it's some kind of autism or whatever, but our autism was the same. They took him to shock therapy. They shocked him, like electrodes into his brain and stuff, trying to fix it. I didn't do that because I could shut my mouth better. Now I use nicotine and caffeine, balancing. That way you can put up with me, because no one should have to put up with me. Yeah, electroshock. Yeah, I know. Now, he's a hyperactive kid. He might have just been lying, and he went to his grandma's for a while. Yeah, ride the lightning. Not that bad. But it is designed to, like, I don't know, forcefully rewire parts of the brain. See, I said grain. See, my family would never let that go. I went to art school instead. Good for you. Yeah, they called it electroshock where I was. I don't know if they call it that everywhere, but it's supposed to, like, physically rewire the brain by creating a new path. Wow. Anyway, all right. I said a lot today, guys. I apologize. Um, Sometimes I want to express myself in some of my experience, and the way that I'm, like, organizing all this stuff and breaking it down into more bite-sized chunks. That is not the way I experienced it. That is not. That is a whole bunch of research and the right proprietary words used the right way, or I'm trying to learn how to use them the best way possible. Right now, I'm, like, studying classical logic and debate language. I'm trying to study that sort of stuff. Khalil of EA Dawa, he's helping me with that. Really appreciate him doing that for me because I need help. And when you guys say stuff like, hey, Richard, you didn't explain that very well. Here's why it didn't work for me. If you can get that far and say, this is why that wasn't good for me, the way you said it, and you explain it to me, I'm going to try to comply with that. I'm going to fail a lot. I'm going to try to comply with that. I want to comply with that. So, because the point is not, it's not for me to convince myself. I am thoroughly convinced this stuff is true. So I'm confident. So I'm not sitting here trying to, like, bolster my confidence. That's not it, right? Nor am I saying because I'm confident in a thing, it has to be true. That's not it either. All right. And I'm not proud because I believe I didn't come up with this. Somebody else gave this to me, and I'm allowed to share it. Okay. The whole point of all of this is you. You're the point. You're the point. You're the point. All these ideas and having a more realistic understanding, a non-fuzzy understanding of what prayer is, has brought my life to the point of ease where my life is, like, ridiculously easy. It's like the easiest life that's not an infant. It's the easiest life I know of. I have the easiest life of anybody I know of. And I mean easy in, like, all the good ways. Like, I work and my body, gets exercise and it gets tired and I can sleep, and, but the work isn't like so demanding that my body gets broken by it. I'm a 54-year-old guy. My body is not so good at healing anymore. I don't want to be, like, twisting my back and trying to, like, lift up 80-pound objects to twist it the other way and put it down like a factory machine. I don't have to do that stuff, and I get compensated. Okay, I live minimalistically, but I do have 2 computers here and electricity and running water and heat and all that stuff, and I get it basically for free. All that stuff, I get it for free because the guy that owns this joint, he lets me stay here for free, and he pretends I'm the night watchman, and he's pretending I'm kind of sort of the night watchman, but just barely. He's just giving me a gift because he likes me. Like a real person in real life. Go have a smoke. That's pretty awesome there, stripping for Jesus. No, but my point is, I want to address you guys, right? So maybe more often, if you guys participate in it, I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna have more opens. And I'll make a big deal out of alerting you, right? I'll put it, like, I'll put it on Facebook, I'll put it on Twitter, and I'll put it Stripping for Jesus. Who are you? I want to get to know who you are. I'll make a kind of a big deal out of it in case you notice. And you come in and, dude, I'm never dishonest. I'm never trying to distract. I'm never trying to avoid your question. If I don't right away like directly address your question, it's because I missed the question and I misunderstood it, and I apologize. I got the brain that I got. MPD. You're the Maryland Police Department. All right. I know that's not what it means. I just don't know what it does mean. So it's a nonsense numerical. I'm sorry, alpha multiple personality disorder. Oh, okay. Well, if you really have that, you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. I wish you were my buddy. Had to go. I mean, physically go. He didn't die. Had great conversations because he was experiencing what you just claimed. And I'm not saying you're joking, but I just know he was experiencing that. Okay. So we had great conversations. Big time. Good friends. Great guy. Brilliant. Really, really, really smart. Okay. I'll go ahead and shut it down. I'm gonna try to do some more live streams. I got a little bit more time off for a little bit of time, and I should okay, if I'm providing a service, I should provide it as well as I can, as often as I can, and I could be doing this more often. So I should be doing it more often. Because if you have a goal, there can be a should. All right, guys. Peace and respect to you all. Have a great day. Please try to spoil, in a good way, the people who are around you, the people that you love. If you have excess physical strength, do a physical task for them. If you have excess mental strength, let them bounce stuff off you, and gently, with consideration of who they are, which you should know them if you love them. Try to guide the thought process into something that you think makes sense in reality. If you have emotional strength and someone's hurting, give them a little bit of that emotional strength. Be that shoulder that they can cry on, and don't take it personal when they cry. They're not crying at you. It's not about you. You're the stronger one. If you can afford that, don't do more than you can afford. Don't overtax yourself. Don't deplete all your resources where you can't keep doing that. There's no wisdom in it. Until next time, I want you all to know I really, really look forward to the day that we're all great friends. Until next time.